Let's go to Leslie. Leslie, you're on News 96.5. Go ahead.
Good morning, Tom.
Hello.
My son, driving out of our driveway in a cul-de-sac here, hit one of our neighbor's dogs. And we have a couple neighbors. They let their dogs just off the leash, run around the cul-de-sac and up and down the street to play.
All right.
And he was going 5-10 miles an hour, under the speed limit, pulled out. One of the dogs was out, and he accidentally hit him. The owner was there, took the dog to emergency vet, had surgery, and, they want my son to pay the bill. And if he doesn't pay the bill, they're threatening to file a police report and say he was driving negligent.
All right. Well, Leslie, I know what your question is. Does your son have to pay, I assume, right?
That's part of it. And also, should we file a police report? Because when it happened, everybody, my son stopped, helped. The owner took the dog, took it, to the.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a reason to file a police report here. I don't know why you would do that. But Leslie, first of all, I find this question fascinating, and I'm going to try and make up an answer as we go, and maybe Attorney Jim Monroe can help me. Okay. So first of all, I don't think you're allowed to let your dog. Are you in the city or county, Leslie? By the way.
We're in the county.
I think you're actually prohibited, even in the county, from letting your dogs run loose. I think you're required to have them under control at all times, whether it's in your fenced backyard or on a leash. So based on that, I think your neighbors were doing wrong in the first place.
We do have a leash law here, so yes, that is part of it, that they let them, and they just let them run all up and down the street and in the cul-de-sac.
So then, Leslie,
they aren't aggressive dogs.
So Leslie, I would say this, then, that the only way that your son would be liable for these damages is if your son was negligent, meaning he was speeding or doing something else, distracted on a cell phone, for example, and it doesn't sound like that's the case.
Okay. All right. We just want to make sure we know what we should do. That's all.
Leslie, at this moment in time, I would ignore them. And if they get a lawyer and that lawyer writes a demand letter to you, then we can reassess as to whether or not your son would have to pay this. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Leslie. Hey, what do you think, Jim?
I think you're right. I think that if it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter, and that if the neighbor sues Leslie, I think they have a defense.
Yeah. The other way to think about it is this, is that I think that you are absolutely positively liable for everything that your dog does. So in fact,
that's correct.
If Leslie's son, if he dent his fender in this whole process, I think the son could sue the neighbors to get the car repaired.
I believe that's true too, Tom.
Ooh,
yes.
Leslie, I hope Leslie's still hanging on there. We'll turn this one right around on those people. Hey,
that's right.
Hey, I'm sorry about the dog, though.